Hi everyone. Welcome to this another session on Agentic AI using semantic kernel using Azure AI. Join us for this eye-opening virtual session as we explore the key differences between apps and intelligent agents. Today, we are delighted to have CR Bhargavi ma'am with us, who is senior software engineer at Ford Motor Company, and she will be taking us on this exciting journey of AI agents. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sudhanshu. And hello, everyone. Thanks for joining on Sunday morning. And and in this session, we would be seeing about the agentic AI, which would be like uh, wherein we would be covering about how we can develop like we would be exploring Azure OpenAI's agent service that would help us build intelligent and then goal oriented systems, like whether you are a developer or architect or an AI enthusiast, then you will be given an walk in with the clear idea of how you can build and orchestrate intelligent AI in real world applications is something that we would be covering as part of the today's session. So before we get into today's session, let me give a brief introduction of myself. I am CR Bhargavi and working as a senior software engineer and Microsoft MVP and MCT. And I am a mentor wherein I had mentored many people right now, and I do speak globally and give sessions. So you can reach out to me via LinkedIn if you want any further updates that what you wanted to have on. And I am a blogger and author wherein I would be writing articles and blogs whenever I on my free time. So you can get in touch with me in the LinkedIn itself for the updates that whatever I write on. And if you have any doubts post sessions, I would be happy to help you out there. So this is a quick intro of about myself, and now let's move on to the agenda, like wherein we would be covering about the introduction to intelligent AI and what are they and what it would be doing on. And then we would be covering about the use cases, industry applications, and then we would also be touch basing on how does Azure AI agent service um, differs from other AI agent which has been available, and then what are the core components which are being available, like planner, executor, plugin, memory, grounding. There are different kind of architecture which has been available, right? So how does it differ from the Azure AI? I mean, how does it differ from the agentic service which has been available along with the Azure AI agents? And then we would be covering a brief part of the implementation of the demo as well as how, flow on how does it work, and we would be seeing on what are the prerequisites which are being necessary to get started with Azure Agentic Service. And at last, I would be happy to take up the Q&A, and then we would be discussing about the resources which can be useful for your further proceedings. So without much delay, let's get started into the session. So it's like introduction to intelligent AI services. Now, I mean, before we understand AI agentic service or something, we need to understand about the intelligent agents, right? So, uh, to put in a simpler term, we can name it something to be like autonomous, and then it can perceive, decide, and act by itself. And then how we can do this is like unlike the traditional automation script which has been available that follows the hard coded rules, and then intelligent AI what it does is like it understands the natural language which has been available, and it helps you to plan tasks based on the goals, and then it would be helping you to interact with the tools, or it can be integrated with some kind of like API, or you can also integrate the same with different kind of the things that what you wanted to do on. So assume that you are an user wherein you interact with an agent wherein it takes up the memory, whether it's of long term or short term, and then it would be giving you back, or you wanted to plan something like planning without a feedback or planning with the feedback, and then you would also be accessing the tools like knowledge base, and then API. So there are different kind of things that what you wanted to do on. So to put in very short term, they are like smart digital assistant that would be that don't just respond, they think, adapt, and execute on a higher level. Like um, think of, to put in an example here, think of an personal assistant, like you want to do some kind of 3-day trip that what you wanted to do on, like some kind of abroad trips or something, and you have a plan within that limit. So what AI agent or intelligent agent does is like it searches, it filters, and then it gives you ready to go itinerary, and such that it brings an action, so that if you are okay to proceed on, then it would be proceeding on. So I guess we are now clear about the AI agent. And now moving on to the real world use cases of the intelligent AI, there are many use cases like there are many use cases, and now we can see that almost everywhere in real world use cases. Now consider something to be like business, in the business part, then you have the AI copilot for onboarding, like it would be provisioning access, and then it explains policies, and then it would be handling the FAQs, like when you wanted to do on some kind of like medical claim for your parents or your spouse or your children, or you wanted to do a new medical claim that needs to be established, and when you go and approach your HR, then obviously there are kind of like situations when AI can handle by itself. So that's where the AI in real place plays a major role on. And then when you have something like, when it comes for healthcare, they are very good in guiding the they are very good in guiding like patients, and then if you wanted to have some kind of like booking appointments, and with that you wanted to have some kind of like data, then you would be able to achieve all those things together. And when it comes for retail part like e-commerce recommendations, uh say like you have to compare the price, stock, customer behavior, however you wanted to have on. And all these are kind of like a similar example wherein it would be automating, or it would be proceeding with the flow of whatever you wanted to decide on, and it would be helping you out with the situation wherein you would be given an example, like you can do, I mean, it just thinks beyond its limit, and it would be proceeding with the action of what it has, and then your end goal is being achieved. So this is the overall architecture, like they just don't work in isolation, they are part of the multi-agent system, like they can collaborate multiple workflows together, and then they can work in various ways, like think of different people inside a team, right? So that's the real way that what intelligent agent would be helping you out as well. Now we understood about agent, and then we also we also learned about the real world use case of AI agents. Now let's move on to Azure AI agent, wherein which should be used for which has been built by Microsoft platform to build, host, and orchestrate the intelligent agent which has been there. And it's part of like Azure AI ecosystem and is built using the semantic kernel SDK, wherein what it does is like it would be helping you to define goals using the natural language, and then you can have your automatically plan your task using the LLMs. You can call external APIs or plugin, and then you can have the main context with the memory and ground those data which has been there with the help of retrieval augmented generation for grounding purposes, and all these can be done with the help of the AI agent. And to put in a short terms, it's something like a brain, which is the LLM, that can act and plan smartly, and that will be handling you with APIs, and that would be helping you out with memories. And then you can also have the various kind of the workflow engine that you can coordinate and you can build and everything over there. So these are some things that what we wanted to discuss on about the AI agent service. And what it helps, how it helps is like it would be helping you to break down the complex task and use plugins whenever it has been needed. So it's all about the AI agent service. And if you don't understand anything about AI agent right now and feels like it's so first time that what you are assuming about AI agent, then don't worry, we would be taking that up in the demo part, which we would be covering in few minutes in a while, and we would be seeing that as well. So when it comes for architecture, when it comes for the overall architecture that what we wanted to do on, let's break down this whole AI architecture agent using the platform. Like the core components would be something like planner, and then you would also have executor, memory, and plugin. So these are the four different parts which should be acting in as your major goal. Like your planner is something that, just give me a second. So your planner is like um, so uh, planner is something that which takes a user goal and creates the multi-step plan which should be used. So now let's take an example and let's see how it works. Like you want to book a trip, like what we saw on the previous example, right? So let's take the same example. You want to book a trip is something that your planner has to do on. It's a whole task, and the step one of it is like it want to get the flight information, it want to know where you want to go first, and then it want to find how many days are you staying over there, and then it also wants to have something like find the nearest hotel where do you want to stay, and the particular place where you wanted to do on, and then how much cost it would be happening as an overall, and whether it matches your particular limit that what you had given. So all these has to be done as part of the planning part, right? So all these are very similar to the planner, which breaks up the complex goals into the subtask, and it would be giving you up the details based on that part. Now, let's move on to the. You can see the architecture over here. Like when you call the Azure AI agent service, you would be having the reasoning engine, and that reasoning engine would be having different kind of things like planner, executor, plugins, and then grounding, and then you would be having the memory part, which has been handled. I mean, last two are being handled inside the Azure AI agent itself. Now, I mean, I hope the planner is now clear. Let's move on with the executor part, which is something like when you want to execute each task in the plan using I mean, using APIs or internal functions that what you create. So executor will be taking care of it. Like it would be executing the particular task in a way that what you are, I mean, what you are about to move on. So, executor is something like your manager, I would say, Baron. He knows about the plan and then he would be executing it, and then he would be giving you back with the details based on the path. And then you have something called as the memory. Where does all these chat that what you do is getting stored, or how does it react to the way that what you give from the previous step? Like you are planning something, you are executing something. How does it happen? How does it even know that? um, where does it get the result from? Or how it want to do something is an instruction, uh, is something that has been given. Where does it getting stored? So it needs a memory like our brain, right? So that's where the memory part plays a major role on. So it would be storing the chat history, facts, and even results from the previous step, and then it would be getting you up with the details which are being needed for it. And then you would be having the plugin part. The plugin part are something like they are like skills and encapsulated APIs or function that agents can be using it. You can create these plugins for CRMs, databases, or even public services like weather or flights, or when you wanted to have different things being added for it, then you would be using it. Like consider a case you wanted to book a flight again, like then you would be using the plugin from here, and you would be using the memory and other things, and then you would be booking the flight tickets and all other things. Now let's move on to the last part, which is the grounding part. Like what we saw, right? Grounding and data are kind of like grounding data and memory are kind of like optional, but you I mean, it's something that which would be kind of like helping you out and doing more. So how I mean, what does this grounding do is like it would be something when the anchors LLM decisions, which can have some kind of like trust and reliability, will be added for you, then the grounding data will be playing a major role on. Now I assume that will I mean now I assume that the whole architecture is clear, and as part of the next, let's look on how does this architecture bring this to our life with a live implementation part. Maybe before I go on, before I move on to the implementation part, I would be covering about the AI Foundries basics as well, so that you can get in touch. I mean, you can understand the Azure AI Foundry as a whole, and then you would be able to have the whole part being added for you. Now, now, let us assume that you have AI Foundry which has been available, and inside that you have different kind of the model catalogs which has been there. Like you can find more than 1800 and not limited to 1800, more than 1800. So you have those kind of models which are been there, and out of that model you can have even the foundational model, and then you can have the open source model which has been there, and then you can have the task model or industry models, or that can be of anything. And you can use all of these together and you can combine them, and then you can segregate the same thing inside the other one. Like consider a use case wherein you would be able to have the sometimes you may use Azure OpenAI service, or in case you may use Azure AI search, or you may use agentic service, and all of these together will have the AI content safety being added to you, and that would be bringing you up with the data which has been there. Like, how do we say? If you want some kind of like agentic service which has been available, then your content safety is now becoming a part and parcel of all other three which has been there. And if at all you are giving some kind of like check that what you wanted to do on for your chatbot, like say assume that you are giving a violent comments like I will kill you, or i will be uh, I will be committing suicide or something of that sort, then all these becomes violence, and then or self destruction paths that what you trigger on, right? So all these has to be blocked, and that has to answer only the queries which has been kind of like so humble or subtle questions alone. So you don't have to answer the queries which are not being under your plate, and so your content safety plays a major role on. And either of it can be used together, and they can be like um, having different kind of the customization that what your agent can do. And then you will be having the various details like evaluation, customization, or you can have the governance or monitoring data which has been needed. All these can be done inside the Azure AI Foundry. Now I assume that you have a foundation about the Azure AI Foundry. Now you can ask me something like, what does this Copilot Studio and other things mean? Now, I mean, the agent can be developed in different ways. One is like you can sit in and code from end to end, and with the help of like some coding languages like Python, Java, Script, or C sharp. So there can be of anything that what you develop on. And if at all you are having some kind of like um, no code experience, and you want to build some agent service that what you wanted to do on, then obviously you can go for some low code no code tools which are been there like Copilot Studio, wherein you don't have to code at all, and you will be able to develop the agent in with the help of the prompt itself, and that would be giving you up with the details based on that. And whatever the details that what you do, like you can get as an API, and you can integrate the same with Visual Studio Code, or you can have it inside the GitHub. So that can be of anything, and all these can be done via the Azure AI Foundry. So that's where the difference between the low code no code and the AI Foundry plays a major role on. Now let's move on and see something like what is multi-agent AI, so that we have few more slides left as well, wherein we would be covering those, and then we would be going back to the demo part so that you would understand that. so well. Now, what does this multi-agent mean? Multi-agents are something like when you have when a system gets collaborated with other agent, then that becomes the multi-agent. Wherein when you wanted to have the specific role like reader or decision maker, or when you have different kind of the things that has been done, then your multi agent will be having a major role on, like, assume that it's something like when you wanted to have a when I mean, so far we assumed that the examples that what we saw on where a single intelligent agent that would be handling the user's goal, right? But in many real world use case scenario, we can break the complex goals which are being available into a subtask, and that subtask can be handled by multiple agent, and this is majorly called as the multi-agent system. So let's assume something to be like, uh, think of it, a team of co-workers wherein handling each particular task, like planning a trip is a part of the task which has been given as a whole itinerary, and then you have to book the ticket as something that which needs to be done, and then you also have to check on the whether they are able to travel or not, and then you wanted to have the expenses being covered, whether it matches the customer's needs or not. So all these has to be done, right? So what you would be doing is like you would be having a plan of each things, like planning is being done by a different agent, booking travel is being done by a different agent, and then you can have the weather and managing expenses being done by a different agent. All these can be done by different agents, and all these together are combined, and then that becomes the multi-agent AI. Now, multi-agent AI inside the Azure Foundry is something like, um, when it comes for agentic AI in Foundry, how does it work? Is like you can have different kind of. I mean, you have a different option which has been available in in the Azure itself, wherein you will be having the Foundry observability, and then you will be having the development frameworks and kits, like you can have the LangGraph, LangChain, LLM, or even the Crew AI, or that can be of anything. There are different kind of the frameworks and toolkits which are being available, and you can integrate the same with the um, agentic service which has been available, or it is kind of like you can integrate it with the initiators or plan the models which are being needed. What do we mean by plan? Is something like, we can have the different ways. We can have you can have the orchestration being done, and then you can have integrations with uh, different APIs that can help you out, or you can have the A to A protocol, or nowadays A to A protocol, and then you can have the agent protocol which has been available in, um, I mean, which is something that the enterprise is kind of like having the security and other things being done, right? So all these can be integrated, and you can have those things being available for you. Or if you want to connect it via the SharePoint or Fabric, or you wanted to have a logic apps being built, then all these are being available, and you can go ahead and use that too. So It's all about the Azure Agentic AI Foundry. I mean, how does the Agentic AI um, inside the Foundry works? So let's move on and see what are the components which are being available under the Azure AI Foundry. So when it comes for Azure AI Foundry, we have three different components which are being available. One is like LLM instruction tools, and then you have agent messages, you have memory, and then you have different things which are being available. Let's move on with simple things and understand what is all about it. Like, it's a whole framework, and you will be having the various, I mean, you can have the semantic kernel, SDK, which has been available for building the agent and defining the defining the skills, plugins, and other things, right? So you have, I mean, consider the same case. You have plugins, and then you have the different ways which has been available, and all these can be something like you can have the various ways. Now, the components of the Foundry comes like you have a agent service which has been available as in the whole part which should be acting here. Like, it would be the major part where you would be planning, executing, and managing the intelligent agents with the help of the instruction tools and other details. Like, the responsibilities of this particular part would be something like it would be handling the user goals, and then it would be handling multiple step, and then multi-step actions, and then it would be routing the execution to plugins and other things. Now we are talking about the plugins and other things, right? So you have something called as the semantic kernel. So what does the semantic kernel do? Semantic kernel is something that a memory which is being used to, I mean, it would be having the uh, plugin definitions, and then actions on what it has to do, and then it would be having the memory storage and retrieval, prompt engineering, and orchestration logic which has been available, like retrieving the data, retrieving the data which has been there inside it. So all these will be having the second part of the semantic kernel which should be giving back the result to it. Now, let's assume the third part, which is the prompt flow. Prompt flow is something like when you have a visual tool to design and debug, and then you want to evaluate the complex prompt workflows, then you would be able to achieve all those things together. Like, right? Um, you when you have the create table prompt which has been available, and when you have the structured output which has been given out of it, then you will be visualizing agent steps which are being there, and you will be giving out the result based on the each step. And then last part, which is like the plugins and plugins and tools which are being available. Like, you can have the http endpoints or python, .NET function calls, and then you can have the Azure services which are being available, and then you can have internal company data systems which are being stored. So all these together are kind of like you have the orchestrator. I mean, all these together plays a major role on, and you would be given the components uh, like how does your data flow from which part to which part, and then you would be able to decide on like how does it do and what does it do, like that. So now let's move on to something that what we saw uh, a little before, like semantic kernel. A semantic kernel is something that which has been which has been developed, or open source SDK, which has been developed by Microsoft for building the AI agents. I'm so sorry about my sore throat. So just give me a second. Okay. So coming back, um, what is semantic kernel? Semantic kernel is a open source SDK which has been used for C Sharp, Python, and then you can have the AI agents being built, and you can have the defining skills and plugins which has been added. What does it do is like, it would be having the like what we saw earlier. It's the same part, like it's been embedded inside the agent, and it would be powering their reasoning, and memory is the major role that what it would be doing. Like it would be acting in as a plugin definition, and then memory stage and retrieval can be so different, and then prompt engineering and orchestration logics will be playing a major role inside that, and then planner integration for goal uh, goal breakdown is something that this whole semantic workflow, I mean semantic kernel, will be playing a major role on. Now, what are the different orchestration pattern which are being available inside the multi-agent? When we see about all these things, then we should be understanding about the orchestration pattern and different things. Like orchestration pattern which are being available in multi-agent AI is like group chat, and then you can have the reflector, selector, or swarm. Group chat is something that when an agent work together like a chat group, then that's something called as the group chat. Reflection is something like when one agent reviews the other's work. Like it would be checking about the like, say in case of your team lead, when the agent will be reviewing your code, and then it would be giving you back with the result of what other agent does, then that is called as the reflection. Selector is something like what it would be picking up from the best response that what it has, then selector is playing a major role over there. And you have swarm. Swarm is one of the important thing, I would say. Like all the agent work on subtask simultaneously, then that becomes swarm. Like that would be running on a parallel way, and you can have all your details which are been there, and you would be running those in parallel, and you can achieve the same kind of the end result in a better way. And what are the business values of the using the agentic AI is like, when you have a multi-agent, then it improves your response time and gives you up with consistency. Like say in case your one agent which would be helping you up in planning the task, and then it would also go to flight ticket, and it should check, or else it should be comparing it with the uh, customer whether it matches the goal or not. So it would take long time, or it is a long goal achievement, right? Rather, if you split up into similar task, and if you see something like multi agents are being put together, then it can reduce the task, and it would be giving you up with the result based on the format. So that's where it improves the response time and consistency. Also, the task that what you do manually is being limited over there, and it would be reducing it there. And it can get integrated with tools like Azure, Outlook, Service Now, and other things as well. Like you can have SharePoint also be integrated. And there are different ways that your data, or I mean your data can be fed inside your AI agent, and from there it can be acting based on the format. Now, without us going in deep of what does these things do, like there are different ways where we have the AI agent service end-to-end life cycle as well, wherein we have model customize tools. I mean, let's take this as something like the last slide for theory part, and I would be covering you up with the uh, demo part sooner, wherein um, let's understand the whole of about how does it work from end to end. So the first thing that what you would be doing is like you would have to choose a model. When you want to choose a model, it can be of anything. One is like GPT-4, GPT-4o, or LLM, or even anything, or even 5. Or if you want to go ahead with some research kind of thing, then obviously it would be taking, there are different things which are available, like 1800 models above which has been available, right? So you would have to take any one of the model, and you would be next customizing the model which has been needed for you. Like if you are based out of bank, then you should be giving it something based on the bank terms. If you are based out of healthcare, then you should be giving it in terms of like healthcare. So customizing based on the domain that what you are working for plays a second role on over there. And third one is knowledge and tools. Your knowledge or your tools can be of different part. Like say you want to connect it to Bing, or you want to connect it to Azure AI search, or you have a knowledge base which has been available from your end, and you would be able to answer all the queries, or you have steps been included for all the multi-agent steps that what it has to follow on. Then you can go ahead and choose your own knowledge base itself, and tools is some I'm knowledge base and tools. And then you can connect it via the API as well, which is something like when you wanted to do the when you wanted to do something like REST API, or when you wanted to connect some kind of like N8N, or there are different things which are being available, right? So when you wanted to connect on with different things, then you can go ahead with APIs which are being available. And then orchestrate is something like when uh, how does your model wants to call the tools. How does your model how does your model will be calling the memory? How does your model will be calling the retrace, or how does your model will be calling the task flows which are being available? So all these are important, and you would be able to have the different kind of the reactions which are being done from your model to the other things, right? So you would be deciding on how does it all do. So that becomes the orchestration. Observability is something like when you have to monitor your model with the help of the logs, traces, and then application insights and other things. Then you would be able to have the observability being added over there. And trust is something like when you have the intra ID, or uh, when you have the authentication needs which needs to be followed, then you would be given the trust. And it's very similar to the authentication and authorization that we regularly do, right? So that's the major role that what we would be seeing on. So these are the six life cycle which you have to remember, or you have to make it a uh, I mean, you have to either remember or you have to memorize, so that you would be knowing each steps of Azure AI agent service from end to end, and then it would be helping you out in reaching the best goal of how does it do on what basis. So now, without much delay, let's move on to the demo part and see how we can create the multi agent inside the Azure AI. Now, assume that you haven't created any Azure AI Foundry app. So what we can do is, like, when you click on Azure AI Foundry, what it would be doing is, like, you will be getting an option to create the AI Foundry resource, and then you can have the manage resources, or you can also have the best practices documents which are being available. Out of it, click on the create resource, and you would be able to create the resource which are being available. And if at all you want some kind of like resource that needs to be created, then you can click on with the resource group, and you would be able to publish your first model which has been there. And I am not doing this in consideration of the time, and I had already created an Azure AI Foundry resource, and that's where it would be looking like CRB Foundry sample is something that I had created already. And what it does is, like, it would be the major use of this is something like when you wanted to have the AI Foundry portal which has been added. Along with that, when you have the details, like uh, when you want to navigate inside the Foundry portal and want to do different kind of deployments and other things, then you would be able to achieve all those things over there. Now, we will be having the activity logs, and then IAM, on whom can we give access to, or how does we use the tags. Tags are major things, like how does your model want to have the personal or sensitive information. Like, it would be the regular thing that what you create when you are creating a resource, right? So that's the thing which has been there. And then when you have some kind of like security information which is needed, then you would be coming here and you would be creating it over there. And resource visualization is something like when you have this particular Foundry sample is the thing that what we have created, and from there it would be created something like project sample. Project is something that which has been available inside the resource. And if you create any model, or if you are creating some kind of like AI agent, then that would be available even more um, down. And you can find from top to bottom of each of the steps that what you have. Or if you want to automate some kind of like task, then you can come here and automate the task which are being available, and you can give the task that needs to be automated. Or if you want to export some kind of like template, then that's been available here, and you can export it as well. So these are the different ways that what you can do as part of this whole thing. And when you click on overview, you will be having an option to navigate inside the Azure AI Foundry. Now, inside the AI Foundry, it's the project that what you have created here. So when you click on this, like AI Foundry, then you would be able to have the AI Foundry's key and the URL that what you can get on. And then when you have the Open API, then you would open AI. then you would be having the OpenAI being available. And then when you want AI services, then you can go ahead and have the different kind of the services which are being like text to speech or text to text or text to speech to text. So there are different ways that your endpoint can get deferred on, and this would be the key, and this would be the endpoint that what you can use on. So this is the overall thing that what you can see under this part. And then when you have the agent, you will be having in I mean, the first thing that what you should be doing is like you should be having the model which needs to be deployed. Like I am just considering the first one which is available, and I'm just clicking on it without any without thinking of anything. Like I'm just deploying it. So what will happen is like it will create an agent which has been available under that particular deployment ID which has been there. Like when you see here, you have the agent 815, so that's been available. And when you click on that particular thing, then you would be able to see the setup and other things like your agent ID and then agent name, deployment model that what you have chosen on, and what are the instruction that what your agent has to do, and then what does your agent description. So description and instruction are kind of like different. Description is something that what does your whole thing of model does, and as an overall thing. So that acts as a description. And when it comes for instruction, it is a step by step instruction that what you would be giving, and it should be acting on based on the way that it should be giving on. So, instruction is like when you define it via the step by step way, then that becomes the instruction. Knowledge base is something like when you have to have the knowledge which has been given, like when you want to have the files, and then when you have your local files, then you can go ahead and give the files over here. And then you can also connect it via the Azure AI agent service itself, like Azure AI search, and then you can connect it to that part. Or when you want the SharePoint to be added, then you can have the SharePoint to be connected, or you can also connect it to the grounding with Bing search or RAG as well. So that's still in preview. You can go ahead and use that particular service as well. So these are the different ways wherein you can have the knowledge base being added for yourself. And then you can have the different agents which are being connected. Like this becomes the multi agent. Like when you create a different agent here, and then I mean when you have multiple agents which is being created, like I'm just creating it inside the agent here. So we have 785 and 815, right? So I just want to connect the 785 inside the agent which has been available here. So when we click on 785, then 815 will be available, and when we click on 815, the other thing would be available. So and when you give a unique name here, and you have to give the detailed steps of when that particular agent 815 is being called, what you have to do. So you will be giving in the detailed step inside this. Also you would be defining on the detailed step of that particular agent inside that agent. So there would be two definitions. One is this agent would be kind of like acting in as a reflector, the same thing that what we saw in the previous one, right? So it would be checking on the work of the other agent whether it had performed right or wrong, and it would be giving you back the result based on that format. And when we connect all these together, then that becomes the swarm services which are being available, and it would be given in that format. And when your result and temperature and then p are all same, which has been available earlier as well, which is something like when it's set to 0, then it is something like you can have the various things like you will be able to have the content driven alone when it's been set to 0, and when it's been set to 1, then it would be giving you up with the details which are being customized, so or it can give you on a creative way. So it works in that way. And you can also enable your chat voice chat as well if needed. Now assume that you wanted to get it connected to the model cat you want to test it somewhere on how does it work. So that's where the whole thing of playground plays a major role. So when you go to playground, you would be seeing in the deployment which are being available. Along with that, you would be able to have the chat history of what does it do or how does it want to do on, and then it has all the details which are being available. And when you when you are when you want that particular model which needs some kind of like code that can have, like you want to know the endpoint url, and then you want to know some kind of like details which are being needed to call this particular thing, then you would be using it via the authentication, intra id authentication, and you will be getting in the uh, foundry sample and other things which are being there, and from that you would be able to use that. Now let's assume that we now got the endpoint url, deployment name and others. Now we wanted to use the same of semantic kernel. So how do we do? Semantic kernel is something like I have one demo part which has been available here. Like what do we do is you have to import that as part of the semantic kernel sk, and then you would should also have something like semantic kernel connectors completion. Azure completion is something that you should be adding on. So once you had added both of those things, what you should be doing is like you should be giving in the giving in the chat completion, which is something like when you wanted to add a service on, like kernel dot add service chat completion service add equal to chat completion, and then you will be giving in your deployment name, and then you will be giving in the Azure OpenAI endpoint and key. Now that I had given the key over here itself, but that should not be the case. That what you should be doing, rather you should be using it in the credentials manager, or you can have a separate thing which has been available, and from there you can pass on the endpoint here. So what does this particular thing do is like what it first gets the complaint from the user, like it acts in as a different multi agent which are being available. Like it is a part of the customer support demo which has been there, and what it would be doing is like it would be getting the customer complaint first, and that customer complaint is now then the first agent is something like which is getting the complaint alone. Now um, that would be just categorizing whether it's broken or late, or what kind of the complaint that what they had received over there. If it's kind of like delivery issue, then it would be categorizing in that way, and it just has the three different ways like we had defined here. And one thing is we had given that to be option like analyze the complaint, and it would be giving back. And then the second agent which would be acting is like the proposed solution. What are the proposed solution which are being available? Like either the solution can be, it can be replaced as such, or it can be having the ways that what it can be, full refund can be issued, or whether the repair can be done or not, or whether any kind of discount that can be provided is something that the proposed solution would be playing a major role on. Now, the third one, which is the response, refined response. Refined response is something like when you have the detailed way, like when you have different things like here detail has to be given back to the user, then the third agent would be playing a major role on. Now, how are you defining and where are you defining all these things together? Now, when you see here, analyzer function equal to kernel dot create function from native method, you are creating in every single method which are been available, like you are creating in a different methods which are being there, like your agent would be proceeding on with different things, and then it would be giving you back with the result based on that format. And then you have something called as the uh, you you would be defining on whether the solution is being given or not, and from that moment it would be giving you up with the solution. Like this is where the workflow solution of the major role plays on, like new complaint is being marked over there, and then what kind of analysis, what kind of solution, and then the final response which has been given. So the complaint can be of my product arrived broken, and you are just giving in an example for it, and that would be that would be like giving you the response based on that format. This is one scenario that what we saw. And before I run, let me go to the second part and let's see. Like you have a multi-agent wherein the same thing which has been modified here, like rather inside that particular thing, you have only one agent which acted as three different things, like three different ways that what it wanted to act on. Here, the major difference is like you have the read prompt, policy prompt, reply prompt. So you have three different prompts which are being available, and you are creating the semantic kernel for each prompt which are being done. And also you are defining it up with the defined message which are being there, and it would be giving you up with the result based on that format, like how does it want to do on, and then how does it want to reply on. All these details are being defined, and it would be giving you up with the result on that format. So now I hope you understood about the semantic kernel and the multi-agent on how does it work, and how you can create a multi-agent with the help of the semantic kernel is also something that we saw. I am, I, when you, so as part of the next step, what we would be, I am happy to take up any questions which are been there. And if at all we don't have any questions at this moment, and if you have any questions which arises up in later part of your days, then I would be happy to help you out in um, with that. And this is my LinkedIn code, and you can get in touch with me.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Bhargavi ma'am, for this amazing session today. And thank you everyone, all the speaker, all the viewers and audience who joined us for this amazing session. I hope you gained some valuable insights from this session as well. And we look forward to more. And thank you so much again, Bhargavi ma'am, for this session today. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
everyone.
Sudhanshu, and thank you, Azure Developer Community, for hosting me.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all for joining.